Okay, we're going to go ahead and talk about observations and inferences. So we did this a little bit at the beginning of the year when we talked about the cubes. Remember when you guys saw the cubes and you were all mad at me because I wouldn't tell you what the name and the numbers and the color on the bottom of the cube were. So we talked a little bit about it then. Now I'm going to give you the formal information and you're going to see how it kind of relates to everything you do and see every day. So before we get started, I'm going to have you take a look at this picture right here. Go ahead and just kind of think about it. Figure out what observations you can make about this. Pause the video and make 3 observations about this picture of a candle right here, okay? So go ahead and pause it right now. Okay, so what is an observation? So an observation is information you gather using your 5 senses, those being sight, hearing, taste, touch, and smell. This is just factual information that you gather using your 5 senses that describes something or anything that you see, hear, that you taste, that you touch, or that you smell. Observations can either be qualitative or quantitative, and we'll talk about what that means in a little while. Examples of observations would be the plant is green, the piece of metal is orange, it's raining outside, the car alarm is beeping, the wall has cracks in it, the room feels humid. I do want to make something pretty clear. Observations are not typically opinions. They tend to be a little bit more concrete. Now you could say the elephant is big. And that would be true because by comparison to us, the elephant is big, so that would be an observation. But if you said the hoodie is big, well, sometimes it's big to some people and sometimes it's not big. It's more of an opinion, right? It might be big on you and that would be your observation that versus you, it was big and that is an observation. But in general, if you just say the hoodie is big or the pants are big, well, they may not be for everyone, so that would not be considered an overall observation. We know it's an observation because it is used or gained using our 5 senses. What is an inference? So, really quickly, what I'd like you to do again is look at this picture. I'd like you to pause the video in about 10 seconds as soon as I'm done talking, and you're going to write down what your inference is about what happened here. What is your inference about what happened? Okay, so your inference might have been that this person fell off his bike. Okay, an inference is an assumption or prediction that is made from observations. Now, basically, your mind does this automatically. So you were like, well, I see him on the ground, I see that it's raining, his face doesn't look very happy, and the bike's on top of him. All things that are observations. And so therefore your mind connected the dots and you were like, oh, he must have fallen down because it's raining. That is an inference. So some examples of inferences would be the table looks like it's made of wood, the piece of metal is red so it must be hot, the plant is green so it must be healthy, the street is wet so it must have rained. Okay, so how can you tell if it's an inference? Well, it's an assumption that was not directly observed with the senses. Just because a plant is green does not necessarily mean that it's healthy. Okay, it could be a lot of reasons why it's green. Just because the street is wet does not mean it must have rained. Maybe the sprinklers went off. Maybe somebody just sprayed their hose into the street. We don't know. And the table might look like it's made of wood, but lots of things look like they're made of wood and they're not. So these are all inferences, okay, that we make based on our observations. Inferences might be true and might not be true, and that's okay. So back to that original picture that we were using. Here's our candle. Okay, so think back on the observations that you wrote down. Okay, and really quickly I'm going to have you pause the video again, and I'm going to have you reflect and tell me, were the the observations you first wrote down, were they observations, inferences, or both? And try to use examples. Write about 2 sentences. Go ahead and pause now. Okay, we're going to practice now. So you guys got this. It is a flippable that flips to the side in your interactive notebook. Okay, we are going to start right here with the next slide. Okay, so when I tell you to write your inference, you're going to write it right here. All right, every time I tell you to write observations, you're going to write them in this column, and every time I ask you to write an inference, you're going to write them in this column. Okay, so here's the first inference you're going to make. If you see 200 people, you see or hear 200 people, you see cotton candy, hamburgers, and popcorn, okay, what is your inference? Okay, what might your inference be? So if you look back at this, I've already written down those observations here. What is your inference about these observations? And an inference might be pretty much anything there. Okay, so go ahead, take a minute, and write your inference. Okay, that inference might be something like we're at a fair or we're at a circus, someplace where you would find all four of those things. You're at Elitch's, there's lots of places that you might see that. So inferences like that definitely work, and these right here are all observations. So we're going to do one more. So here we go. Okay, on this thing right here, we're going to start here, and you're going to write 3 observations about each frame when I tell you to. Okay, 3 observations, and then you're going to write 1 inference about each frame. So here's frame 1. I'd like you to write 3 observations and an inference. Go ahead and pause right now. Write 3 observations and an inference, and you're writing them about this right here. Okay, writing them about this right here. Okay. All right. Now, on frame 2, okay, you're writing 3 observations and 1 inference, okay, in the place right here for frame 2. So you're writing 3 observations and 1 inference now about frame 2. Go ahead and pause it and do that. All right. Now, finally, frame 3. 3 observations and 1 inference. All right, back to observations. So what are the 2 categories that things fall under? Okay, they can either be qualitative or they can be quantitative. Okay, a quantitative observation is one that involves numbers. Okay, one that involves numbers. Okay, examples would be her hair is 3 meters long, she counted 4 marbles, the ball weighs 50 kilograms, it is 35 degrees Celsius outside. So quantitative means quantity, it's an amount. Okay? They can also be qualitative. A qualitative observation is an observation that involves the appearance or another quality, like smell, feel, something like that. So qualitative observation describes, it's not measurable. The roses are red, it smells like fresh baked cookies, the chocolate bar tastes bitter. So qualitative is the quality of something. So no numbers in qualitative. There's definitely numbers in quantitative. See all the numbers in the quantitative? Okay, so now we're going to practice. So on the back of that same flippable that you were using before, you're going to see an area for you to write. Okay, you're going to see an area for you to write qualitative and quantitative observations about each of these things, okay? So go ahead, I'm going to leave this up. You can go ahead and pause it. Write a qualitative and a quantitative observation about this slide right here. Okay? Let's go ahead. Oops. Get through this really quick. Sorry. All right, so you're going to make a qualitative and a quantitative observation about all of these things right here. Okay, each slide, you're going to make it qualitative and quantitative, and you're going to put it in that little table that is on the back of your flippable. Okay. All right, so remember, any questions you have, write on sticky notes, bring to school on Monday or tomorrow, and we will discuss them. All right, thank you.